All right, we are here, and I guess this is our welcome episode. Some people like to call it a pilot, but we wanted to skip past all of that. You might be wondering what 320 somethings are on the internet doing another podcast about crypto, but I just, first off, introductions are in order. I'm Branden. We have Connor and Matt with us as well. And we're just a couple of guys. We enjoy crypto. We enjoy Web3. We enjoy the craziness, wackiness of the world that's kind of all associated with it. And we also align heavily with the values of crypto because a lot of them align heavily with our faith that we all share in common as Christians. And we just kind of wanted to speak out into the void, just bringing to light how in the world of crypto and in the world of Christianity, or even looking at things through a biblical worldview, there's a lot more in common than there is different. And we believe that there should be a project, a program, a podcast, some sort of network that is connecting people with the values of crypto and the values that make Christianity what it has been since Christianity was founded, since the church was founded. And this is just something that I was discerning. Back in November, we all attended a conference called the Catholic Crypto Conference. It was started by Matthew Pinto, renowned Catholic author, big in the homeschool space is how I knew of him. And we all went to this conference, and I was praying, and I just realized that we needed a continuation of the conversations that we had at this conference because, one, the world is broken, and two, it's not that cryptocurrency is the fix for it, but it definitely is an option that can help lead others to financial freedom in some capacity. But just wanted to, I guess, just speak on everybody's credentials here because we don't want to just, we're a lot more familiar with cryptocurrency, I feel like, than the average person in it. But yet we still have so much that we can learn. So without further ado, let's just hear, Matt, if you want to start, just what's your experience in the space and, where do you come from with all of this?
Yeah, thanks. Besides, buying and selling like $10 worth of Dogecoin like 5 years ago on Robinhood, I really got into crypto. I want to say early, maybe January 2021. I don't know. It's just been fun to kind of learn about it and just pick it up more and more. I've done a little bit of work for a couple small projects, and I am currently, since last June, I'm working full time for a NFT gaming project called Samurai Legends. And so, just having a blast doing it, and I want to share what I can.
Yeah. Connor, what do you do?
Yeah, I would say I also got into crypto, or at least got into crypto heavily around January of 2021 as well. That's when the market started popping off. But I actually invested in Bitcoin earlier, around when COVID hit in 2020. And it was kind of a funny reason. So I was not doing anything illegal, but I actually was trying to find out, and this was just an experiment of mine, I was trying to find out if it was possible to create profiles online without having it tied to my identity at all. So I was trying to figure out how to get a phone number, because almost all accounts online these days have to be tied to a cell number. I was trying to figure out how to do that without having it connected to my identity, and then ran into Bitcoin for that reason. So again, I was not doing anything illegal, But because of that, I started taking an interest in Bitcoin and became super excited about the possibilities there. And then, when the market started going, I started getting more into the crypto ecosystem and the whole world of Web3. So that's what started my whole journey. And since then, I did Bitcoin Miami in 2022. I did the Florida Bitcoin Summit in Orlando. I did the Catholic Crypto Conference, and I've done some writing in the space and whatnot. And I'm just excited to see where the industry is going.
So then there's me. I too am a January 2021 adopter, officially adopter, but unlike these two, I had my Coinbase account in 2019, and not necessarily for the right reasons, because I was doing offshore gambling. IRS, don't come after me, because I didn't make any money from it. So, to say the least, my bank account wouldn't allow me to pair with my Coinbase account, which then in turn led me to just forget about it. And then January 2021 comes around, I start seeing a lot more stuff about crypto. And I've always been in stocks. I've always been a big stock ETF guy, just always trying to find an edge in trading. And I had been starting to really get a more well-rounded portfolio, especially in 2020 when the market was doing so good towards the end there. I mean, more so not necessarily accurately by any stretch, but everybody was making money, and this crypto stuff really started going off. And I had heard about Bitcoin, but I didn't know how to invest in it from Adam. And so then I just started doing research and just realized I needed to devote a portion of my portfolio to this, just to have a well-rounded portfolio to get exposure to the crypto market. So I log on to my Coinbase account January 2021. I think it was January 21st. And I was just sitting on my couch in my apartment that my friend Chad and I lived in at the time, and there was $40 free there, like free dollars just for answering these questions on these quizzes that Coinbase offers. And I'm like, what the heck? Why am I getting this much free money from an app that I haven't even gone on in 2-3 years? And so took the quizzes and started learning more about crypto. And then I realized I need to get exposure to Bitcoin. I need to get exposure to Ethereum. I need to get exposure to Cardano. So I just started getting as much exposure to L1s and a few, L2s. And then Chad got me in touch with one of my now good friends, Mark Ross, who is from Gem Finder. He's another YouTube channel. He was really big into the altcoin projects, and I hadn't even heard of like the swaps, like Pancake Swap or Uniswap yet. And he plunged me into the deep and just showed me a whole different world that I had no idea. But little did I know, crypto wasn't about making a quick dollar when I initially found out about it. And then I started learning about the values of crypto, decentralization, parallel economy, just how sick our monetary system is here in the United States. And that just plunged me down rabbit holes that I never saw myself going. And now that I've been into crypto for as long as I've been in it, I don't think I will ever look at the world the same way. And I think that a lot of people that are in our positions won't look at the world the same way, especially from a TradFi standpoint, even a macro-fi standpoint, because there's just been so much corruption since, there's corruption in everything, but the money supply in particular is really sick. And I don't know what the cure is necessarily. I don't know if it's Bitcoin or if it's something else, but it's clear it's a better alternative than what we have now.
I think the government needs to start doing some buybacks and burns.
Yeah, yep. Honestly, I think they already do
Getting
that.
wrecked
I
here.
think they do that already low
No,
key,
they do.
but
They
but
burn
they
paper money. Yeah.
but then they print more, so it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's a very contradictory system. But another episode for another day, right?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So
We don't have enough time.
no, no, for sure. So I guess just the question. So this podcast is a continuation of the discussions that we began at the Catholic Crypto Conference. So I guess let's just get started, Matt. What brought us to the conference ultimately? When did we find out about it? What inspired us to go? I'll let you kind of start with it, and then once Connor gets back on, we'll ask him too.
Sure. Yeah, gosh, I didn't remember when I saw it, but it was, I remember where I saw it. I was on, I was on Reddit, r/Catholic programmers. And as I was like getting more into, picking up some programming, I was like, oh, this looks like a good place to be. And somebody had shared it. It was probably pretty close to when it was announced. And so I jumped right on it. I told my now wife, and she was like, "Oh, you have to go." Sorry, especially because before I jumped onto working full time with Samurai Legends, I worked as a teacher at a Catholic school, and so I don't know, just. At the very least, she's like, okay, well, you need to legitimize yourself if you're going to make this kind of career move. And so, yeah, I'm glad I went. It was great. Great conversations all around on both the Catholic side and the crypto side. Yeah, anyway, that's how I got there.
So that was just before you joined Samurai Legends, or just after?
Oh, when I saw the Catholic Crypto Conference?
Yeah.
So I was working with Samurai Legends before, but not in a full-time capacity. And so I was doing a few things for them on the side while I was teaching.
Gotcha.
But yeah, I think it was before I took the plunge, but like I knew I was going to take the plunge. Like they offered full-time, and I said, well, I'm going to finish out the school year. And so here we are. So how about you, Connor? How did you come to know about the Catholic Crypto Conference? What drew you in?
Yeah, I actually I found out about the Catholic Crypto Conference super late. Like I think literally 2 weeks before the actual conference is when it came across my radar, and it's because I follow Brantley Milligan on Twitter, and I actually wrote an article about his whole situation in early 2022 with ENS domains, which is a whole thing that we could get into at some point maybe. But because of that, he brought it up that he was going and he was going to be a speaker, and he got added last minute as well. So I saw it because he posted about it, and I said, hey, Christians are doing something in crypto, like I want to be there. So that was basically the deciding factor. And then I work for a small kind of libertarian leaning, I do some work with, I want to say I work for them, but libertarian leading, like, I guess, online publisher. And so I asked them if they would be interested in a write-up about it, and they said yes. So I went out as a journalist, I guess, and wrote about my thoughts of the Catholic Crypto Conference.
Nice. And then I ended up at the Catholic Crypto Conference because I have a problem with making sure that what I do aligns with my faith as much as I probably should. It's not like I'm going out there doing nefarious things, but I just sometimes forget to bring it back to what really matters. And my buddy Chad is always kind of my filter / sounding board for that. And he just shot me a text, and he's like, look at this Catholic Crypto Conference. And then I was like, I saw who was behind it. I saw who was coming there as speakers. And then I just was like, this is Matthew Pinto. This is a legit thing. Like, this is no nonsense. And I listened to some of Matthew Pinto's interviews that he was having on other Catholic media. I don't know if you guys heard some of his interviews leading up to the conference, but I tried to find every single one of them I could just to figure out what this was. And once I knew what was happening, I was like, Chad, we're going. And this was in like, my daughter was just about to be born, and we found out about a month in advance. And I'm like, I told my wife, I'm like, hey, like, if everything goes well, I would like to go to this. And lo and behold, everything went great, and daughter was born. Couple weeks later, went to the crypto conference for a couple of days with my buddy Chad, and came back and everything was hunky-dory. But I'll say, like, that conference rocked me in an interesting way, from an ideological standpoint. And this is why I wanted to do the project with these two guys, because we met at the conference, and that we aligned on a lot of things, and we were very, we were close in age and similar life stages. I guess me a little bit further along, but we just had a lot that we agreed upon, and that's why I just wanted to continue the conversation with like-minded people. So with that being said, pulling from the conference, what were some of your favorite, most inspirational moments? Well, we'll let Connor go first here, because he's been dropping off. Knock on wood that he doesn't anymore, but
I don't think I'm going to drop off. I hope not again. At least
Okay.
It seems like it's steady. I switched to a different browser, and I think that fixed it.
Okay.
So Brave browser wasn't working for me. That's another crypto project, so they need to take a look at the system. And
I'm using Brave.
yeah, it's probably something with my computer. It's fine. Most inspirational moment. Most inspirational moment. I would say there was definitely a few.
Connor, let's do two. Inspirational and favorite. Like, just, a combination.
Okay, fair enough. I would say my favorite moment was probably sitting down with Matt Pinto, because I got to have an interview with him. It was only like 15 minutes. He was very busy, obviously, in the middle of that conference. It was packed, by the way. I mean, of like the speaker schedule, like I think in the future they could actually do to cut a few out and give a little space in between, because it was content nonstop. So kudos to them, honestly. They brought together a lot of really impressive speakers. Gratefully, Matt Pinto was willing to sit down with me for about 15 minutes to kind of talk about his vision for the conference. And I'll say, like, I don't think there was a more honest guy who could have held the Catholic Crypto Conference. For a space that is known to have a lot of scammers and, people talk about crypto sometimes with a little bit of woe. Matt Pinto is somebody who's definitely looking to do the right thing in the space. So I was super grateful to hear from him about that. And I mean, he just explained it. He said, to me, what I see going on with crypto, it's like the advent of the internet. And he's like, I wish somebody would have grabbed me by the lapels, back in the early 90s, late 80s, and said, you don't realize what's coming, and that's what he wanted to do for the crypto world. So, and I think that's very much needed for Christians to hear, is that, hey, this is a serious space and it's going to affect the future, and we need to, put an ear to it. So I would say that was probably my favorite moment or most inspirational moment.
I think
it was kind of, to be honest.
I interrupted you and said do a favorite, but how about you hit us with an inspirational moment?
Inspirational moment. I don't know. It's probably got to be Brantley coming out on stage and talking about his actual experience in the industry. And, that's the first time that I think he actually spoke publicly since what happened with ENS. And I put a few of those quotes in my article, actually, and very inspiring, to be honest. Like, even for me, kind of knowing a lot of the story, hearing it from him, like, it definitely made me want to get out there and, go hard for Christ in the crypto world. So I would say that was my most inspiring moment.
Nice. And we'll put a link to your article in the descriptions too, so that people can know where to get that, to just get a recap of that. Matt, what would you say? Same question for you. Let's do favorite moment and then inspirational moment.
Yeah, this is hard. I feel like I was thinking of other moments, but then after Connor said how we just needed more space, more time in between talks.
Yeah.
Like, I think that was my favorite part. Just talking to everyone there, seeing, what brought them there, and just making some connections. And I've mentioned to you guys, I'm just kind of slowly going through all those business cards that I got, trying to stay in touch with all these people. So I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the conversations that happened, the casual ones. Most inspirational. And then again, you took the most inspirational one when Brantley went out and told his story. I think the one talk that's maybe stuck with me the most, that I've thought about the most since, it was the Michael Matheson Miller about the parallel polis.
Yes.
In these, parallel societies. I thought that was super interesting, and I've kind of nonstop since then been thinking about it. How would I do that? How could I contribute to that?
Yeah, Michael Matheson Miller's talks those tweaked the consciences in interesting ways. Like, just it wasn't really him talking about crypto at all either. He was just talking like, hey, how can we use these alternatives that Web3 is providing for us to, help us break the chains of what we take so for granted, just because, it's the age-old adage that we're using now, is that if you're not, Connor, you and I were talking about this earlier, but if you're not paying for the service or the product, then you are the product. And I think that Michael Matheson Miller, that was his hard truth that he was driving into all of us. And I whoa, so that I found him very inspirational. So going off inspiration, I guess just I was inspired by the amount of people that were at the Catholic Crypto Conference. Just seeing all the people there, I found it funny that everybody that was 30 or younger was invested over their skis in the space, and then everybody that was 40 and older, this was their first time ever hearing anything about it. But it was the first Catholic thing that I've been to, and Matt, you might be able to relate to this. It was the first big Catholic convention that I've been to where I saw more men in their 20s than ever before. I don't think we get young men. I don't think we have a lot of Catholic stuff that a lot of young men get together like that, or even young men with older men. It was just, it wasn't the same vibe as Estovir. It was a lot different. And I wonder if it was because there was multiple niches that were there collectively, talking about the same things. So it might have been something like that. It was a very specific niche group of people. Just found that inspirational. I also was inspired by the fact that, and I'm not sure where this quote comes from. I think a saint said it, but where sin abounds, grace abounds all the more. And the Catholic Crypto Conference happened literally in light of the FTX scandal happening. And that quote just was resounding in my head while we were there. Everything looked like it was going to the woodshed, the crapper, however you want to say it at that time. But yet there we all were trying to just see how the church could help in some way, shape, or form. And then my favorite moment.
That was Paul, by the way.
Okay, Paul. Yep. Okay, yep. I forget which letter, but yeah, that would be it. So I think my favorite moment though was just the connections that I made, the friends that I made there, the people that I met. Been able to touch base with a lot of those connections made, even some connections resurfaced post crypto conference, which I didn't expect. We can talk about that another episode though. But yeah, it was just an incredible experience. You met people from all over the country that were involved in crypto in different ways, shapes, or forms, and that was just probably what I just found my most favorite experience regarding that. So, and I don't know, anybody have anything just out of curiosity?
Yeah, I was just, just talking about Michael Matheson Miller. I really liked his stuff too. I thought he was a great addition to the conference. But what I thought was really interesting, and Michael even told me this himself, but so many, even the speakers, so many people were coming to themselves like find out like what crypto had to offer the church. So we had a lot of speakers that obviously were in crypto, but we had like this gathering of Catholics and Christians that was saying like, hey, we do these other things. Like Michael Matheson Miller talks about like parallel economy stuff, and he researches that with the Acton Institute. I can think of others. Even Matt Pinto himself, who is like, hey, I'm not like a crypto guy, but I'm in the church and I know the church needs to hear this. So these people were coming to like learn about crypto, just as we were going to learn about, crypto and how this kind of intersects with Catholicism. So it was super great to just have that kind of space where the church could kind of openly ask questions and openly kind of, I guess, brainstorm how crypto could actually benefit the church. And so that's like the discussion that was missing from, I feel like, the greater crypto world that the Catholic Crypto Conference kind of answered.
Sure. And just a side note, two other favorite moments. I forgot about Mark Yusko and Robert Breedlove. Those two guys were great speakers as well. So I was just looking at my notes here, and I was like, oh shoot, like I forgot about those.
Well,
two
we
guys.
had, look at like the names we had, honestly.
I know. It was
Brian
mega.
Brown, who's the president of, I think, the National Organization for Marriage. He's a big name. Chris Tyrell, who was previously like, I forget what his position was.
Bitcoin.com.
Blockchain.com.
Yeah.
And he's a major advisor in the space. Brantley obviously is a huge name in the decentralized DeFi world.
Yeah.
Like we had, Mark Yusko, everybody knows him in Bitcoin. Like we had some seriously heavyweights there. And it was great to just see that kind of presence and be like, yeah, these people are Christians, and they're in the space. Like we have people there, So that was really cool.
Even the people that weren't Christians that were there, I think it was Jason Brett. He was Jewish, and he was there talking about crypto regulation in the thick of it too. Like he was one of my favorites on the regulatory AMA. Like I think I don't know what to call it. Some of them were firesides. Some of them were just felt like three people sitting in a room. But there was just a lot of just great speakers and people that were there were people that were really good in terms of what they knew about the space. And let's be a little critical here. There were some that did not pan out very well either, but I feel like you could sift out like the good from the not so good in terms of the speakers there. I don't want to like badmouth anybody that spoke at the Catholic Crypto Conference. I learned from all the talks that I went to, but I heard of a few doozies. It eventually came to the point where I was just going wherever Connor was going, because Connor knew who these people were, and Connor and I had conversations, and we both agreed on a lot of stuff. And I was like, all right, I'm just going to be a puppy here and follow the people that I agree with the most and stuff. There were a few that I knew I wanted to go to, but I knew at the end of the day, I needed to kind of latch onto some people that knew more than me. And I'm not afraid to admit that.
Yeah, maybe this is actually important to bring up too, because it might be relevant for the podcast. But
sure.
In seeing as we're talking about the Catholic Crypto Conference, I know both of you are Catholic. I'm not. I'm Protestant. So that's probably relevant for the podcast. But also just kind of to recognize that there was a lot of people there that were not explicitly Catholic,
Nope.
or even explicitly Christian. I know there was people there who, were just open to the conversation, both to help contribute and to, maybe learn something themselves. Even on the speaker list, it was not exclusively Catholics. Like you said,
No.
there was a Jewish person there. I'm pretty sure there was a few speakers who were non-religious.
Yeah, there were
quite
some
a few
atheists.
didn't really
Yeah.
explicitly talk about it. I don't even know about Merc Yusko. I don't know where he stands.
Yusko's Catholic.
Is he?
Yep.
Okay, cool. But some people just didn't bring it up explicitly, and I know it was open to have a diversity of speakers there, from all types of walks of life, as long as they were respectful and willing to contribute to the conversation. So that was a dynamic, and it was a healthy dynamic because we are sharing this space, obviously, with a lot of people that aren't Christians, or in your case, aren't Catholics. And the point of the conversation is not to try to, like, I guess, shoehorn Christianity into somewhere, that is secular. That's not really the point. The point is to recognize that Christians and Catholics have a space or have a place in the industry, and we have our own desires and our own needs that we would like to see, the world of Web3 and crypto answer and to provide for. So everybody kind of has, when you sit at the negotiation table, everybody kind of has what they want, and us Christians and Catholics are also people that are sitting at that table. So that's what the conference was kind of there for, is to provide Catholics and Christians a seat at the table, as Matt Pinto said.
Not only mention Michelle McCoury did a really good job hosting a lot of those fireside chats too. So she did pretty good. Had an interesting conversation with her. I was able to pick her brain about some stuff because she was in a chat one of the rooms with me. But yeah, she did a really good job also. Just to give her a shout out.
News?
Yep.
Kitco,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you talk about heavy hitters like that. That's a big get too. Just to like have her up there to host stuff. Like, whoa. So, yeah.
I think what you guys are saying, I think what's good and what I realized, I mean, you're right. It was good to see that there were Catholic people who work in the industry, but I think there was also, just because I mean, crypto blockchain is such a new space. You had a lot of people there who were, they were not necessarily Christian, but they were very knowledgeable and they worked in the space. And then you had, there were also quite a few speakers who were, they were Catholic, but I don't think they knew much about blockchain,
Yeah.
And they talked about other things, like morals or, economies and things like that. And so, it was just, I thought it was great. That you have to it was the Catholic Crypto Conference, so you had some people who were both Catholic and crypto, and you had some Catholic people and some crypto people, and like you need everyone to have the discussion.
Right. And it's almost like, hey, like, we have something to share about the church, and you have something to share about blockchain, and we're having this conversation, and that's kind of the feeling I got from the speakers and everybody that was there. Like Michael Matheson Miller was talking to me, and he's like, "What do you know about crypto? Like, talk to me." He's like, I want to connect with you after. Like, I want to learn more about this stuff. And I'm like, I'm here to like learn from you. But that's really what the conference was. It was this conversation between people who are very knowledgeable about their fields, and it's about the intersection of that with blockchain and with crypto. So,
all right, and not that we said we didn't want to be too structured, but we've been going on and on about how much we like the conference and all the people who are there. What are the takeaways? Like what's the substance? So people weren't there. If they're listening to this, probably, or they're trying to reminisce with us, but they probably weren't there. What were the takeaways? What is Catholic crypto? What's the intersection, or Christian crypto? What's the, and sorry to have that jarring kind of transition, but
No, it's
we've
not.
been going on and on.
It's not
people.
jarring. And I would say that for me personally, what I got from the conference was I needed to take more ownership over my crypto. And I know that I sound kind of base and elementary with this take, but I didn't really have ledgers at all yet. And I had a couple hot wallets, but like I didn't have any I didn't have ownership, and I realized that following that conference that I needed to take self-custody seriously, and not because like I'm trying to hold all of my stuff selfishly, but like there's something between like the church does teach that ownership over what is yours and what is due is good for you, and it benefits the economy and the world for people to have private property, for people to have private possessions. And so I think that's something that I kind of gained from the conference, and I had already been leaning in that direction, especially in light of what was going on with the exchanges. I was 1 inch away from really getting burned by FTX, and I fortunately had moved all of my funds out of there, but I had been playing the exchange game for way too long, and I knew better. And that conference just convicted me more to just take responsibility and take myself a little more seriously with myself in the space, and just how I can use it to help, in my own way. I'm still wrestling with that question, Matt, at the core of it. How does crypto help the church? And I think it's just, we need to have awareness first, And I think right now we just need to continue providing that awareness with our, with our churches, with our parishes, with our finance councils. And I don't know how that happens yet, but we need to just start by making people aware. And I don't know what else to say yet on that. I don't know, Connor, what's your insight on that?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of takeaways. I mean, because there was so many different opinions, at the
There are
conference.
lots of takeaways, yeah.
Yes.
There's a lot of, I mean, there's just, people have their own opinions, so it's like tough to like decide like what the deciding takeaway is. But I guess for me, kind of off of that, about what is the church's place in crypto, and I feel very similar to what Brantley expressed. I would encourage anybody to go back and listen to his talk. But people just have to realize, like, we are definitely at this stage in the crypto game, like we're sitting at a negotiation table, and all these decisions are being made in DAOs. Organizations, people are buying up governance tokens that are, going to be controlling factors in how the future plays out. And those governance tokens that people are buying right now are going to be like worth insane amounts of money in the future, because that represents power over the infrastructure of the future internet, So at this stage in the game, like, we're sitting at the negotiation table and we have an opportunity to say, hey, we want things to go this way, or we want things to go that way. We want these projects to be built. We want these kind of morals to be instilled in the code. And all that stuff is happening right now. And so now is the time when we have to take notice and put ourselves at that table. So the takeaway for me was just that we need a seat at the table. We have to recognize that Christians have interests in the world of Web3, and we need to coalesce and join forces with other Christians, and start to recognize that we need to be there. We need to be in the discussion as Christians, not just as people in crypto. We need to be in the discussion as Christians.
But that goes back to awareness, though. Like, there's so many Christians and Catholics that aren't even aware that this is happening, and that's why, like, how that's where I'm like, yeah, we need to have the discussions, but we need to have awareness before we can have the discussions.
Yeah.
So that's the big thing.
There's education that needs to happen, but also just for the people who are in the industry that are Christians. Recognize that there's other Christians in the industry, and maybe we should be organizing to some extent, or at least recognizing that we're there. And because I see other types of groups operating in DAOs, and obviously they have interests sometimes that are opposed to the interests of Christians, and we need to be kind of the same way. We need to just be there in the DAOs and say, hey, we don't like this. This isn't right. We want things to go this way, and just have the conversation in those spaces.
Maybe
as Christians.
Maybe we need, like, our own, like a crypto version of Dave Ramsey's Financial Freedom University, except like, how do we like make that crypto? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and Dave Ramsey's probably sitting over there chastising anybody who buys Bitcoin, but like you would need some sort of educational resources and tools like the Ramsey solutions to even do something like that. And
Or like the crypto conversion podcast.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
or that. Yep.
We'll
It's a
convert
start.
you.
It's a step. It's a step in the right direction, I feel like. So, yeah.
This is good. I think we all had slightly different takeaways, because I was going to say my takeaway maybe was more individual and personal, and it could be because I'm working in the space, and so I'm thinking about decisions that I'm making.
That helps you a lot, especially like
But so my takeaway, I was really trying to understand how should a Catholic behave in the space, or how should a Catholic approach the space, right? Like what are the fundamentals, and I don't know. I think one of the talks that stuck with me that I've been thinking about since is, I mean, we can even think about how we approach money. I think it was Father Andrew Pinsent, and
Yep.
he, I mean, he broke down the vice and virtue, right? He said greed, at its core is kind of the selling or the exploiting of relationship. That I'm taking advantage of this relationship, and I'm leveraging it, for my own gain.
usury.
And then, well, so usury's in there too, but greed itself
Yeah.
is specifically, or maybe more, not specifically, generally, this, I'm exploiting relationships, and that's us at our core, right? We're social creatures, right? And then kind of the opposite virtue is liberality. I liked his kind of dichotomy, like, you don't use your friends, like use your relationships to get money, but freely use your money to build better relationships. How do I lightly spend my money? How do I, how can I be more charitable? How can I don't know, because in some sense, I mean, there are projects that are not kind of monetary based, but a lot of it is money in some form or another. And yeah, how do we treat it? How do we approach even that in the first place? I think is great. And then I liked, I'm trying to remember who it was who talked about the values of solidarity and subsidiarity, and how do we, use both of those. How do we, empower people to make decisions for themselves and also care for others? Don't let them make harmful decisions for themselves.
Was that philosophy professor from
No,
the
it was.
Catholic U?
Oh gosh,
The one that Skyped in?
No, he was there in the flesh.
Oh.
He was.
I think the guy who Skyped in talked about it a little bit too.
Okay. Yeah, no, Matt. I didn't mean to shout out usury there. I just know that there's
you're
not a
good.
podcast in the. Well, maybe there is, but there's not a lot of podcasts throwing that word around, so that's why I said.
it's a good word.
I
I said
sat
that
in
would
on
be
a
a
dis-
great Wordle word. It's 5
Yes.
letters, 2 U's and a Y. Anyway, sorry.
That's
Connor,
a
what
lot
were
of
you saying?
points. Yeah.
I was just gonna say I actually sat in or I listened in on a discussion about usury at the conference. That it was just like one of those side
Sure.
aisle conversations, but it was informative. I definitely learned some things I wasn't aware of.
I had heard the word before. Being a former seminarian, you kind of hear a lot of these words, but sometimes you just read them and you just are like, okay, St. Augustine, good stuff. What's the next sentence? But I don't know where I read it before, but it might have been Aquinas or Augustine. I'm not sure. But I'd seen the word before, but I'd never heard it, and I'd never heard it explained. And that was really helpful, I thought. So,
Well,
yeah.
it seems like there's quite a few explanations of that out there, but
There are. Yeah.
Yeah,
there's an
I
extreme
really like-
side and a less extreme.
I'll throw it out there. I really like the there's like a blog post, and it's I think his name's Zippy Catholic. So if you look up Zippy Catholic usury, he's got like a very, very in depth of like, like would this apply to usury? And he's like, no, because it's not like that, or like with this.
No.
And, I don't know what his credentials are, but then I was trying to explain that to my friend, and he's like, no, Aquinas defines it as this, and I was like, are they the same thing? And we didn't settle that. So
Yeah.
Well, to all my Latin scholars out there, it comes from the medieval Latin us, u, usuriae, and to see use in that Latin context. I don't know. I guess it's I don't know. So you can do with that what you want.
We should
So
have a discussion maybe about this in the future, because actually I
Sure.
think it probably does apply to like certain DeFi applications and questions about banking. I mean, which is very major in crypto. So
Yeah, we can definitely do that. I think that there will be a lot of we're planting a seed here, and we're just seeing where it grows. So if the audience bears with us, I promise it'll be worth your time. Because this is just kind of the objective that we're going for with the podcast here is what are these conversations that we started planting the seeds for at the conference, and even in this first episode, that we can hopefully continue in some capacity. And so I guess
I'm not going to promise it's going to be worth your time, but I hope it's going to be worth your time.
It's going to be worth people's time.
Okay.
I'm going to promise it's going to be worth people's
All
time.
right, good.
Because if you listen to some of the podcasts I listen to, it's a lot worse than this. So I can confidently say that. Go down the rabbit hole of crypto podcasts that are out there. Boy, there is some special people. God love them. All right. So let's see. I guess just let's go to this question. How can things go wrong? I feel like that was an interesting question that Connor put out there for us to kind of talk about. As Christians in crypto, I mean, we can talk about, like all of our money goes to nothing. We get regulated up the kazoo, and it just nobody can do anything in crypto. But I guess tangibly speaking, there is elements of crypto that are kind of nefarious and corruptible. But I guess that goes with anything that's made by man.
Yeah, I'm definitely not advocating someone to throw their entire net worth into crypto right now. Like, it's
No.
I'm advocating for people to have a discussion, like we're saying, like don't set yourself up for failure.
How can
it
it
could
go
go
wrong
away.
though? How can crypto go wrong though? I guess, like especially from the Christian worldview or from a biblical worldview standpoint.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, I mean, it could. I mean, like you said, it could go to zero, right? And like that would be crypto going wrong.
That's worst
right?
case scenario. But even like just what I mean. Like how the world tries to distort and just dishevel what was made to like hopefully improve situations, and then it ends up backfiring.
No, this is I think the worst place it could go is that it actually gets treated as law. That like crypto people like to say, the code is law, right?
Code is law. Yep.
If imagine there's something, some exploitable contract out there where everyone's like selling themselves, and then we fall into a feudal slave society because the government says, oh well, actually now he owns your identity because the code is law, right? You signed away your identity to that. I don't know. I imagine true dystopian world. I don't think that's going to happen, but that's, I think, the worst place it would go.
Like kind of like crypto just becoming an all-encompassing CBDC where things just end up very centralized.
Even if it's not even if it's not like the government doing it, like if I suppose it could also be bad if like the government kind of passively backs it, to say like the legal system, like, looks at crypto favorably enough, but also like strictly enough that
even a big corporate bank, whoever's controlling the money, so could be anybody.
yeah, I think it was actually Stephen Barrows. I forget I don't know how to pronounce his name.
Sure.
He was one of the speakers. He was, I think he's the president of the Acton Institute.
Yes.
One of the head guys there. I think he said, like, he just like mentioned like, oh yeah, there was actually a danger that like this become a globalist project, and it's basically through the whole like CBDC route. Like, all right, I mean, think about it. Like, what is the blockchain? It's like a public ledger of information that stores everything. Like, it stores every information that you put on, like every transaction you make is stored and is publicly viewable. Like, you tell that to most people who don't fully understand like the potential behind blockchain, and that sounds awful. Like, tell that to your grandma, like, yeah, it's like a bank account, but like everybody can see all of your transactions. Yeah, that doesn't sound like exciting at the outset. But of course, like, you have to explain, like, actually it's better because now you don't have to trust like some, institution like a bank to manage, all that for you, and then add controlling stops and whatever, and like basically hold all of your money. You don't have to do that. You can basically control your money, but it comes at the expense of having to have like a public ledger. That's not a bad thing. It's actually a good thing. But because of that, there is this danger like that blockchains become, like a CBDC route, where it's just basically is actually controlled by a centralized entity, and now they just have, public access to basically everything, and everything gets put on chain, and everything is like permanently tracked and on chain. Like, that is a potential danger if we don't like push for the decentralization route.
Yeah, Dr.
Even
Stephen Burrows. Yep.
Stephen Burrows, yeah.
Stephen Burrows, yep.
Even if it's not like controlled by the government, like if the U.S. government said, "Oh, Bitcoin's legal tender, you can spend it anywhere now," I imagine it wouldn't take them very long to like match up identities to addresses. They could keep track of everybody and where you're spending money. Like, if we want, like, I don't know, like, people who really want, and I'm with them. I'd like Bitcoin to be adopted. I think it would be a cool thing, but like, it also, there is a risk that, if it is, then yeah, like, businesses still have to be regulated. And so like, they know every business accountants. They can see like, oh, someone spent money at, this gas station in this place. Like, I can tell by,
exactly,
whatever. It's very trackable.
And actually just thinking about it now, like with Tornado Cash, like, okay, the US government sanctions a decentralized protocol that is enabling privacy on chain. So now they're going to say, oh, you can use a blockchain, but you're not allowed to have private transactions. Everything needs to be public. So they're basically outlawing privacy so that everything can be tracked, right? So, and on top of that, here's the real danger, though. So the government sanctions it. Now, they don't control the blockchain, so they can't actually stop it. But if everybody who does create protocols and whatever complies, then you've effectively allowed the chain to, to be subservient to government regulation. And of course, it's very hard to not comply, right? So, but if we just allow things to be that way, then it's like, it doesn't really matter if you have this potential, like, if we don't live up to it. So,
yeah, and just to add on to that, if private business just decides to, just be in bed with government and just do the government's bidding without having a mind of their own, is money, is capital even like real? Like, these are questions that I ask myself now. Like, you see net worths and dollar values just get thrown around, but it's just like, how much of that is really real? Like, with just the way everything kind of is, it's just shocking to me sometimes how you listen to the CEOs like Jamie Dimon and all of them just talk about the centralization of banking and how much crypto just scares them, it seems like, but they want the technology. It's like, we want everything crypto has to offer except the decentralization component, where people have freedom over what's theirs and they actually own it. And
yeah,
that it's just
like, oh, we want a way to profit from this, not to just like
Exactly. So this is the beauty of what we want to bring to light, and what we want to join with Christian viewpoints and values and things of that nature. I guess let's start closing it up with this question. Are Christians late to the game, and what if Christians are late to the game? Like, are Christians late to the game? I like to tell people that you're never late to the game in crypto, personally, but I could also just be a crazy person. So I don't know. I'm not like trying to be over like a crypto shill here, but it's like I think people aren't late to the game, but I could be wrong, especially because when you're talking about Christians, you're talking about a pretty large populace in the world, not only in the U.S., but the entire world.
I guess I'll go, but yeah, I don't think Christians are late to the game yet. I mean, I think we're still very much at the beginning stages, and I feel like people have been saying that. I was like, oh, people have been saying that for years or whatever, but it's true. I mean, your average day-to-day person might have bought crypto, but they're not using it. Like Web3 is not being used fully yet. So I would say we're not late to the game. But if Christians are late to the game, like, yes, we can be late. We were late with basically Web 2. Like, look what happened with Web 2. Like, we're all getting banned. You say something bad on Twitter, like, you know, they ban you, and bad means you just said, like, Christian doctrine, right? Yeah. So it's like we already were late to the game there. We had this promise. Everybody talked about the World Wide Web, and it's like, you can do anything on the World Wide Web. Like, nobody can censor you. It's uncensorable. Well, look at it now. Like, it's not really true, right? So we can't be, it would be bad for us to be late to the game with crypto. We're not late yet, in my opinion. But yeah, we don't want to be late.
Yeah, I don't think we're late either. I mean, there's part of me, you know, I think about the far future, and like, I mean, it's possible that like the L1 that will all be used in the future, or even the L0, like just hasn't even been built yet, right? I mean, like, it's possible that Bitcoin and Ethereum won't be it, right? I mean, it's highly likely that they will, right? Because everyone's using them, but something else might come along and they'll be like, oh, no, this is it. Like, yeah. You know, it's, and so, no, I think this is a good time. I think we have a lot of the projects in the space are not yet like doing all the stuff that Web 2 does. You know, I mean, you see a lot of projects that are replacing financial things, but I mean, there's so many, like, I'm sure there are people trying, but I haven't seen a good Web 3 social platform. You know, like I haven't seen, you know, I like what ENS is doing with, like, you know, this identification thing, like that's great, you know, but I don't know. I think a lot of like there's still so much space. There's so much to go. Like the horizon is so far away. It's there's tons of stuff to build. So we're not late to the game yet. But I agree. I agree that we can be late to the game, and then we'd have to, you know, do catch up work and try to fix things instead of build things. But yeah, not late yet. What do you think, Brandon? Are we late? No, you started with that. You said nobody's late.
Yeah, I don't think anybody's late. I mean, but you have to start, and it starts with awareness, and that's what we're here to bring. So just to kind of give people a lowdown on what to expect from this podcast, we just, like I said, this is a continuation of the conversation that we had at the Catholic Crypto Conference, but we also understand that as a crypto podcast, we have to kind of talk about the essentials of crypto. So we're definitely not going to be like the intro to crypto guys by any stretch, but we're going to start having these conversations, you know, what is sound money? What are all these different cryptos? What are they for? and we want to bring on people that we met at the Catholic Crypto Conference. We were able to make some really good connections from that conference that we want to utilize and tap into just to join us in this conversation, this journey that we're going to attempt to be on, which is crypto conversion. And we just hope that everybody who is watching or listening is hopping on for the ride. We're going to try to make this as accessible as possible on every platform that allows us to be there. So we just really hope that you give us a shot. We appreciate you listening. We're going to have this on podcast platforms, on RSS feeds, wherever we can get it. We're going to have this on video platforms, wherever we can host it, and maybe someday go live. All things considered, it'd be great to have an audience to interact with. And yeah, I don't really know where else to go. I think that we covered the Catholic Crypto Conference well, and I'm sure that we'll have more stuff to talk about from it, as it was such a big part of our crypto journeys thus far. And with that being said, everybody have a good morning, noon, or night wherever you're getting this.
Like and subscribe and drop a comment or a review.
Yep. Subscribe wherever podcasts are found. Yep. All the things. So awesome. See you, everybody.